pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please. Do you want to start with Eric?
Eric Wardell.
Christy Wood.
Jason Henry.
Carol Locke.
Tim Broderick.
Heidi Duford.
Isla Duncan.
Lauren Ferruccio.
Eliza Jolie.
Ann Pierce.
Wyatt Varney.
Okay, we're going to start our first public input. First public input in school board meetings should pertain to the agenda items first, and then our second public input is more of a general input. I do want to tell people that the board does take public input very seriously. I know it appears like we don't because we don't respond, but we're not really allowed to respond in public. So we take note of all the public input, and sometimes we have to go into non-public to talk about it, other times not. But I just don't want people to think we're ignoring them, so I wanted to say that up front before we start public input. So who would like to start? Anyone?
I have public input in the line item relating to personnel. Last year, Prospect Mountain High School, our community lost more than 30.
Oh, you have to say your name. Sorry.
Oh, excuse me. My name is Pamela Mott, and I'm a parent. I have 4 children in the district. I'm also a mental health counselor that provides services to our community.
Okay, I apologize. I should ask.
It's okay. No, that's okay. So the agenda item that I'm concerned about, there are several and how they're being managed. The biggest one is the personnel. Last year, we lost more than 30 people, very important people in our building as a result of numerous kinds of things that went on. And it was devastating for our community. It was devastating for me as a family not to have those people I depended on that made all the difference in my life. And then coming back and learning that we're losing more people this year due to similar circumstances. I'm asking the board to maybe inquire, why are we losing so many long-standing community members? Why are they leaving our schools? I've heard stories that are horrendous. And I'm going to save the rest of my input, but the personnel is number one for me, a concern. Another is the hiring. So we're hiring people to come in and do jobs in our schools, such as behavioral or student of deans. If our teachers were able to do their jobs without fear of retribution, they may be able to handle the behaviors that are going on in the school without somebody coming from outside to do it for us. Our superintendent has made some very drastic changes to our community, and it's done us no good. So I'm asking just to take a closer look, and some of those things that I'm going to talk about that might be not on the agenda might also be of interest. People are afraid to speak up against the leadership because they are walked out of the building. People are afraid of retribution that you, sir, will ruin their career. You can't respond.
Can we not direct it to personnel, please?
Okay, excuse me, I'm sorry. I am very emotional around all these individuals because they have been so valuable to our communities, and they thought they'd never leave Prospect Mountain High School. So I think that's what I'm going to just say on that, and I'm going to kind of sit back and wait for a more appropriate time to talk about the other things.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for your time.
You state your name, please.
My name is Kim Pika, and I'm a Barnstead resident. I want to start out by saying that I think you as the school board deserve some recognition, as our school district is going through a tough period with numerous challenges. For many of you, this position is in addition to your full-time jobs and family commitments. I'm not sure that the general public is aware of how little you get paid for this position. I want to personally thank you for what you do. I chose to share my story with you last week because I wanted you to know what the employees experience behind the walls of these buildings. This goes far beyond what you as a school board are able to see. You might hear from some staff, but others are too scared to speak up. Retaliation against a teacher certification is serious. When teachers speak out about problems within the education system, whether it's policy failures, unfair practices, or misconduct, they often face the threat of losing their certification. This type of retaliation not only jeopardizes their current employment, but also their future career prospects. The fear of such retaliation silences many educators and creates a vicious cycle of unaddressed issues, and in our situation leads to high turnover rates. I might be one of the only former employees that is able to speak about my situation, as I do not hold a teacher certification. I am here tonight because I love this community. I remember what it was like prior to our current leadership. This was a community that worked together for the benefit of our children and our schools. There was a time when staff, teachers, administrators, and district leadership worked together with community members. It's no longer this way. Teachers are fearful to speak up, and when they do, they are escorted out of the building, fired, or not renewed. Parents are also scared to speak up as they don't want their children to suffer the consequences. I am here tonight not just as a parent, but as a previous employee of BES. As many of you have probably read my email to the school board, it took me 2 years to share that letter. There are numerous reasons why I don't work in education. I've distanced myself, however. Retaliation is a real thing for employees in this district. I want the administrators to know how it feels to be ripped away from your job, your community, and the kids you love. When I was told to resign, I sent letters to administration about how sad this was. When I received a letter back with statements like, "I'm sorry about how that feels to you, and I'm sorry that interaction didn't feel good." Well, I'm standing here today to say, I hope this interaction doesn't feel good to you, and I hope you choose to change that.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to give us public input? All right, in that case, I'll close public input. Oh, sorry, I apologize.
Sorry, I was trying to decide if mine was relevant to the agenda or not. Probably not, but I'll speak again at the end of the meeting. My name's Aaron Hahn. I have 2 kids in this SAU, and I appreciate the comments from the last 2 speakers very much, and I thank you guys for being here. What are we doing to attract talent, but better yet, retain this league? This is very concerning to someone that has 2 kids in the school system. My daughter is a junior, her most critical years, and we are losing teachers, we're losing resources. So what are we doing about this? We need to stop this. We need to change this culture immediately so we can retain our teachers. Teachers are not easy to find. They don't grow on trees, especially in the Lakes region. And this is very concerning to myself and my family, what's going on here in Alton. It's unspeakable that we're in this situation. You can stop me if these are irrelevant to the agenda, but I have a question. How many students are currently enrolled in open enrollment?
We're not supposed to answer questions, but I can let our superintendent answer you.
9 this year.
9. So out of the 9 students that are enrolled in open enrollment, how many districts do they represent?
Yeah, keep going.
Off the top of my head, I think 4.
Okay, out of 4 districts, how many have paid SAU 301?
We've sent invoices to all of them. Nobody's
And have
paid
we
yet.
received any payments?
Have not.
Maybe this isn't a good idea to focus on. Maybe we need to focus on retaining our teachers and our talent and make sure every decision is made with the most vulnerable student in mind. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Brittany Fortin. I'm from Barnstead, and I wasn't planning on speaking, but on this topic, thank you. People are watching, right? Like other staff members, other community members, everyone's watching, and culture is a big thing. And I just went through this kind of in my company too. We have a number of people I understand are retiring this year, and I understand that normally there's kind of a benefit for them every year at their schools, and this year there's so many people retiring. There's like a food truck event that they're invited to, but I don't see a lot of recognition. It's not like a very value-filled kind of feeling. So my hope is that we, like when I say people are watching, we want to see our colleagues, our the people treated well and respected, and when we do things like that, honestly, it feels kind of a kick in the face when I heard about this, that we're combining it all to a food truck thing after hours when teachers are cleaning out their classrooms and stuff like that. It just feels like an afterthought, and I think we can do better because these people give their career to our kids, and we really do value them, and I think the district, I as a taxpayer would think that that's worthy expenses to really do make them feel like they care, like we care about them. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more public input? All right, in that case, I'll close public input. Let's have an agenda review.
Make a motion to accept the agenda as presented.
Second.
Any discussion, questions, comments added? If not, can I have a vote, please? All those in favor of the agenda as read?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, May 28th meeting notes.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of May 28th, 2024.
Second.
Any questions or comments about the notes? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. We're on to finance for Heidi. Revenue and expenditure report.
Well, not much has changed. I don't know if you guys have any questions.
I tried to look at it today. I didn't really see anything that was.
Just on our boat transport, are we gonna be using those vans? Do we use those vans or more so use the buses, depending on how many kids?
Depends on how many kids and if the bus is available, or if the van is available.
Yeah, and you need a driver still, I guess, too.
We share, some years, for one of the trips at least, we share a bus with Farmington to LRTC, so we get to divide that cost sometimes. It depends on how many kids in which session.
I think a lot of groups have taken advantage of having the van, and, they sign up for it, I believe. Is it weekly they sign up, Shaylee, or
2 weeks in advance.
2 weeks in advance? And so
And
it's
then-
always packed, from what I understand. That's why I thought maybe we could get a second van, because they are using it. The robotic team's using it a lot, ski team. I know our special ed kids use it.
Tennis, golf, all the smaller teams.
Yeah, all the smaller teams use it. It saves us a lot of money. Any questions for Heidi? All right, we're on to you, Wyatt. Student report.
I have a few things tonight, not just from me. I'll start with my report, though. Not a lot since May, which I wasn't here. My apologies. I just wanted to congratulate our softball team again, even though we've heard it a lot, because it is really amazing.
It
that
is
they've
amazing.
won 58 consecutive games and a third title. That's a great accomplishment, especially for a school our size. Event-wise, and I'm sure Ms. Davis will cover this better than I would have, field day was really fun, and it was cool to see students who don't usually interact because their schedules don't overlap. So it was cool to see them kind of interact and do things together. Graduation, very emotional, but it went very, very well. And I'm proud of all of our student speakers because I think they had phenomenal speeches. I'm excited personally because there's 2 travel abroad trips again this year. Miss Dills to Costa Rica, and then Mr. Long's to Italy and Greece, which I myself am going to be going to. And then lastly, I just wanted to congratulate the class of 2024 for graduating.
Yeah. I thought the graduation went really well. I thought the speeches by the students were awesome.
They were phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so graduation went well, and also was at the scholarship night too. That went very well. A lot of kids received a lot of scholarships, and
just amazed how smart and talented a lot of our kids are. So it was good.
The next thing I have was a thank you card sent to the school board from Ms. Daniels, and she asked me to read it aloud. To the PMHS School Board, thank you so much for the lovely floral arrangement you sent to my husband's funeral service. Prospect has always been such a family to me, and being among the many people compelled to leave last year was a devastating loss to me. I have taken great comfort in this love and support still emanating from that community for me. Thank you for your kindness. And she
Great.
signed it.
Thank you. Thanks for reading that. All right, thank you, Wyatt. Last, oh, you have another one, sorry.
Sorry, I have one more thing. I'll try not to drag this up
Oh,
too
don't
much.
worry about it. I didn't know you had one. I thought that was one report.
Since my first day in this building, when I was told the mission statement of our school, I took it to heart. I considered it as a promise from the school, not only to myself, but to my peers as well. Over the course of my 3 years here, I have noticed that promise starting to diminish. As the student representative, it is my responsibility to bring to light the concerns of the student body, and I would like to start by reminding everyone here of our mission statement, of the promise made to every student who walks through those doors. The mission statement of the Prospect Mountain High School community is to personalize education in order to maximize individual success. Concern and uncertainty has floated around the student body involving untracking. I urge careful consideration of the implementation of untracking so that it is done in a thoughtful and intentional way with the incorporation of educational best practices and designated time to develop a new curriculum. It is essential that students are neither left behind nor dragged down. This will ensure that personalized education and individual success are not compromised. The program of studies is an essential component of personalizing education. Although it is strong for a school our size, I believe it is dire that our school provides classes such as physics and calculus. These are courses that are standard, if not required, by most schools. I understand that filling positions is a difficult task. It is troublesome to find a solution to this issue, so it's time that we create one. I suggest that a more aggressive and thorough approach is taken, leaving no stone unturned in the search for educators. We have extremely talented, strong, and well-accomplished staff at our school, and it is crucial that we don't let them drift away from us. I have noticed a fading sense of inspiration and passion within our school, which I believe has been trickling down to the students. Everyone in this building needs to have a passion in what they do in order to properly influence the students. I suggest that our teachers be shown more appreciation and treated in higher regard by everyone, not just the students, in order to aptly reflect their value here. We cannot let their passion for our community and their spark for teaching burn out. On behalf of the student body, I hope you all take this into serious consideration. I want to see our school community strong and thriving again, so the students of Prospect Mountain High School feel inspired to learn and proud to be a Timberwolf.
Thank you, Wyatt. That was very well done. I appreciate it. All right, so we're on to curriculum and assessment. I believe Ms. Barber's here.
Kate's here.
Kate.
Principal.
Oh, I missed, oh, sorry. What the? I'm not done yet. I got so distracted. I apologize. Go ahead, sorry.
All right, as this is my final board meeting, I just have prepared some remarks for the board that I'd like to read. It was funny because as I started to prepare this, I thought, oh, it's only been 3 weeks since the last board meeting. You know, I wonder what I'm going to talk about, and then I ended up having, this is the biggest board packet that I prepared, because the last 3 weeks of school have been so full of wonderful activities involving the community. So as we wind down the school year, I want to express my gratitude for being a part of the Prospect Mountain High School community over this past year. While I brought to the position my own set of skills, knowledge, and experience, I am pleased that this year afforded me the opportunity to learn and grow too. I leave here a better administrator, and I leave with new personal and professional friendships. I hope the board considers carefully the topic of cell phones at the high school. Both administrators and teachers need the school board's support in greatly limiting cell phone access during the school day, so the foremost task of educating our community's young people can be accomplished without interruption. Too much administrative and educator time and energy is expended on managing phones, and research has shown that young people do better emotionally and socially when they put the phones away. Taking a difficult but decisive step will benefit everyone in the building. I believe in the educational equity initiative that is underway. Prospect Mountain High School is a special community, and before you is a wonderful opportunity to build upon the school's strong foundation by ensuring every class offered is rigorous and robust. Untracking the high school and ensuring that students are all held to the same core academic standards will not just ensure a higher level of competency, it has the positive effect of improving the course scheduling process, eliminating small class sizes, and increasing elective offerings. I hope the board continues to support professional development for teachers as they are asked to participate in de-leveling classes and reworking curriculum. I applaud the ELO and pathway initiatives that have been firmly established in the school counseling department. All of these programmatic changes will deepen the learning experience for PMHS students while opening up greater educational opportunities. It is my belief that the SAU, the school board, and those who work within the schools have a sacred trust to the taxpayer and communities that support the educational system. Removing educational distractions and barriers are important ways to honor that trust. I wish you the best as you continue to support PMHS through your work on the school board. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, as an overview, I know this is a long packet and we have a lot to go through tonight, but I hope, a picture is worth 1,000 words. And I just hope that you enjoy seeing the students in action, doing wonderful, important work in our communities. I have really appreciated the work of the National Honor Society with Liz Kahn and Kate Barber, and how they have really supported the kids in doing leadership opportunities that are community service oriented. And it's so beautiful to see them visible within the communities, helping to do a car wash to raise money for wells that are being built in Africa, or making beautiful cards for the Sugar Hill residents to cheer their day and to make connections. The field day was, it was an interesting combination of Kati Preston in the morning and a field day in the afternoon. But when we really thought about it, it was a beautiful meld of those two worlds, because she came and she talked about her harrowing experience in Hungary during the Nazi regime. But she also spoke about how she has lived a full life and embraced a beautiful life despite the harrowing experience that she had. And so the kids responded beautifully. We had a packed auditorium because we had 7th and 8th graders from Alton come and 8th graders from BES. And I was anxious about behavior and how kids would respond, and you could have heard a pin drop. She was so engaging and knew how to connect with her audience. And afterwards, many students came up and just, one student said, "You're beautiful." And it touched them in a very deep way. And so I was emotional after, because I thought about this beautiful, powerful message that her one individual light shone on. I think that there must have been 700 of us that day. So it was really great. So you can see some pictures in here. Ava Tibbs is part of, Olivia Noyes did the Sugar Hill, Mason Papasino did the car wash, and Ava Tibbs helped me to do the field day. And so we had fun planning that. And you can just see how muddy and grassy and wet and happy these students were, doing a wide range of wiffle ball and kickball and flag football and volleyball and cornhole, slip and slide, a great barbecue, a sponge ball fight. It was really fun. We also had Lieutenant Commander Chris Furtney come in. He was the commander on the cutter, the Tamaroa, during the perfect storm. and he came and presented to the students as well. And we wanted them to have context for the story, and so we showed on 2 different settings, because we didn't want the kids to sit for 2 hours, the perfect storm. So when he came, they were well prepared and could be an attentive audience because they knew exactly how much he had put into that heroic rescue. Graduation, I think, was beautiful. We were honored to have the Honorable Justice Melissa Countway give the commencement speech. Equally so, I thought that the students did a beautiful job emceeing the event. There was a lot of warmth and happiness and joy and love, and I think that it really reflected the character of Prospect Mountain High School well. We had 83 graduates, 25 earned the Community Service Award, 4 students that we worked with from the beginning of the year that we knew that it was going to be a struggle to get them across the finish line, and this setup, the day-to-day in and out of school, was not working for them. And so we were able to connect them with other services, but we never let go, right? The school counseling department would get updates. They would communicate, hey, you're not doing that VLAX class. How's that HiSET class coming? Wait, you didn't show up for the test. Let's reschedule. And 4 more students crossed that finish line. And we're successful because we never let go of them. They might have gone and been doing the work elsewhere, but we kept tabs and let them know that we still valued them and they were part of our community. And I was excited to see them show up for graduation practice. 29 students earned an honors diploma. 2 National Honor Society cords, 7 National Honor Society cords, 11 New Hampshire Scholars, and 3 Triumph Honor Society cords. And it was really fun seeing all their caps. That's the highlight for me, because the caps set them aside as individuals. They may all be wearing similar robes, but the caps is where they shine as individuals. The Good News Assembly and Student of the Month was really exciting. Tenacity. We were able to recognize that students who exhibit perseverance in relationships, life obstacles, or in tackling difficult academic concepts. These students keep pushing forward through challenge and difficulty. I don't know if you remember, but at the beginning of the school year, Linda Sheff, our new school counseling director, had said, well, we had talked about, instead of 1 student of the month, can't we open this up and have 1 from each grade? And can't we start recognizing more students in our community that are doing outstanding things? And so she said, well, how about we do an acronym? And we have each month a different thing that we're going to focus on that makes that student special. And so for May, it was T for tenacity, the last letter in Prospect. And we had Angelina Barnes, Alyssa Pica, Jaden Tucci, Maddie Daly, Ava Tibbs, Reese Burke, and Marco Del Greco all got an award for tenacity. In June, the overall Prospect was Sydney Grasso, Maddie Miller, Wyatt Varney, and Lexi Booker. When I worked in Wyndham, we had something called the Renaissance Awards. And that was an award of not maybe even having arrived, but having a transformational year where people said, wow, you really grew up this year. You really, blossomed academically or through sports or through your behavior. And we're going to recognize you're not the same student that we had in September that we now have in May and June. And so this was all through the faculty, and everyone that was nominated was given an award, and we did that during the daytime awards. And so that was True Reed, Skylar Perry, Delaney Drolet, I'm sorry for that typo, Brady Glidden, Jaden Tucci, Owen Brazel, Keela Forsyth, Izzy Jones, Ayla Drolet, Gabby Patel, Avery Mahaney's, Alexis Wilson, Paige Caruso, Caleb Kennedy, Owen Smith, Sean McInerney, Emily Siegler, Pearl Coburn, Brendan Francis, and Robbie Gordon. And so we're just incredibly proud of those students that are continuing to evolve and do their best. The end of the packet highlights individual students who are doing great things. Victoria Kauser won a Student Art Month competition. Alexandra Duclos, who goes to Concord Technical Center for Cosmetology, won a 3rd place in a competition for the Long Hair Award. And then we have some beautiful pictures of our girls softball state championship winners, and a highlight of Tori Christie. And then we also had on the Wright Museum on June 6th. We went there, and I was just delighted at the people that came out to see our student presentations. They have a large presentation room. It's almost like a mini assembly room, and it was packed. People were standing, and you could hardly move around to see the posters. And it was so wonderful to hear the students talk about their research and how they got to know the soldiers that they were honoring. And then we went upstairs and had a beautiful spread reception, and so the people continued to interact with the students and just the kids were delighted that so many community members showed up, and the community members were so delighted in Prospect Mountain students and in Mike Folan's work. And then this past Monday, Senator Maggie Hassan came and met with the students here at the high school. So really exciting to see their work being recognized. And that's it. Thank you for listening.
I apologize, I skipped you.
Oh, don't even worry about it. I was just teasing you.
I'm just happy you're here and pronouncing the names right. What can I say? Building and grounds, proposed encumbrances.
Oh, wait a minute. Before we start buildings and grounds, nobody mentioned, and I just want to brag for a second, Mr. Stevens took the band to the Great East Music Festival, and our band took gold in that competition in their category. So.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
I'm a band parent. So.
And you know what? Thank you, because I have not been able to catch up with him, and I actually did not know that.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
So I guess platinum is the highest, but gold is the second highest.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And am I not
Go
surprised?
Band, right?
I am not surprised.
Band is
The
great.
fantastic work he does with our young people.
Thanks for sharing
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
I
no.
appreciate it. All right, building and grounds, all yours.
Buildings and grounds. So we met this evening to go over conferences, CIP plan. So there's a couple of things here. In our packet, a couple of recommendations from our group unanimously. We voted to adopt, presented in front of us the encumbrances, all of them, because we have enough money left over in our estimated surplus. And also in the capital expenses, estimated cost right now, in August we'd have real cost, but estimated cost is right now, Bill, you have our capital expenses. If anybody has questions, I can take questions specifically on it.
So you're saying all of the ones you proposed last meeting
Yep.
we're able to do?
Yep.
Hello, my van.
You got a minute.
Oh, okay, there you go, another van.
So I would just need a motion for it.
I make a motion to recommend, approve, we're approving now, the end-of-year fund balance request in the total amount of $365,448 from end-of-year surplus.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you.
And I
Thank
make
you
a
for your-
motion, sorry.
I was going to say thank you for your hard work building and grounds. It's a lot
I
of
make a
yet.
motion to approve the proposed capital expenditures in the total amount of $122,698. Is that the right number?
I'll second.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay, still on more buildings.
Are you all done? No?
No.
No, you keep on going there.
I keep going.
The Energizer Bunny.
So on buildings and grounds, we also met to talk about the floor in the gym. That's one of the projects you just approved the money on. It's not quite finished yet on the design, but the surveys were done. And do all of you have this fold out in your packet?
It's in my report, if you turn to that.
So, looks like pretty much agreed upon the timber walls, both ends of the floor. Center key area, black with the gray paw print, light paw print. Still working on a possibility, it looked like the wolf head of some sort down here on the lower right, the middle one there. And possibly some PMHS maybe in some of the corners. The project is taking off now. It needs to get going. So what I'm asking for is for the board to make I'll make a motion for the buildings and grounds to be able to either meet via email or in person to finalize the final touches and make approval so we can get the gym floor project done.
I make a motion that the building and
I just need a second.
You just need a second, yeah. So she's
You're
seconded.
making the motion.
I did.
I thought you said we need one. Yes.
So you seconded it? Do you get that, Deb? Any discussion or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Thank you. And obviously, once we get it finished, we'll make sure we get it out to everybody.
Now we're going to do curriculum and assessment. So Kate is going to present all of this for Matt?
No, only the first item. Kate doesn't have to do everything.
Okay. Come on up.
I've got a few handouts here if you need more. Make sure Matt gets that to you as well. And I'm not going to read all of that to you because that will be profoundly boring.
Thank you.
But my name is Kate Barber. For those of you who don't know me, I teach English 9 and English 12 here. And I'm here to talk to you a little bit about the embedded honors professional development that myself, Liz Kahn, and Tom Owen took part in over the last couple of months. I'm really glad I'm here because I'm sensing a lot of anxiety about the embedded honors approach. And I want to just let you know that I too felt a lot of anxiety about it when it was first presented to me. I think teachers can be a lot like students when they first get information about a change. If we feel like we can't do something well, we don't want to do it. So when this opportunity was presented to work with Allie Brown really closely and get a better understanding of what this could look like, Liz, Tom, and I really jumped on that chance. And so with her guidance, we were able to discuss our concerns and the challenges, and we really wanted to know, like, what does this look like, how can we do it, and how can we do it well? It was a very hands-on approach. We were able to see some project-based learning examples. We were able to develop more effective rubrics and play around with designing our own curriculum and thinking about if this were to happen right away, how could we start to make tweaks to things that are already existing in our wheelhouse. And so this idea behind the embedded honors curriculum is to allow students to stretch their learning experiences. It's not about pulling those honor students down or trying to like lift people up so that we all meet in the middle. It's really about personalizing the education. So coming back to that mission statement and focusing on the state standards and how we can open up some opportunities for all student learners. So some examples that we looked at were learner portfolios, community presentations. So an honors student could potentially come to a school board meeting and present an extra part of a project that they worked on, and that would count for their oral presentation grade on that project. Building connections between content areas, that was something that we were really excited about, was looking at like how can I work with Liz Kahn in her social studies class to also fulfill an English credit, and how do we sort of like work together and cross the curriculum so that learners are getting all different types of experiences. Extended reading, writing opportunities, and really what we learned were that the options are endless. And it's the idea is to really collaborate with the student, so it is student driven. If there's something that they're interested in, that they want to learn more about, that they want to do, we design it for them in mind. So this training really helped us to start thinking about what this could look like departmentally. It was a good reminder to keep our planning standard focused and to keep our planning guided by the final goal. So whether that's an essay, a project, a presentation, or lab, we have that learning target that we're all looking at, and we know where we're going and where we're headed. So by creating a clear learning target for teachers and students, the journey to success feels more attainable. And we'll be taking everything that we've learned over the past 2 months and applying it to the personalized learning plan, which should be in your packet for this evening, for our summer school students. Questions about any of that?
So I think it's important to clarify, because I was on the curriculum committee this past year, and we had talked about untracking classes. So that's why Kate is addressing this in summer school, to kind of see how that goes, and it gives her a little more freedom to try it without full classes. So we had talked about on tracking starting not this fall, but the following fall. And so it's going to take a lot of training for the teachers, and it sounds like you've embraced it, which is great. Making it more personalized learning. You can have different courses offered that may not be offered if you're able to mix children together that maybe have different abilities but have similar interests. Again, it's one of those things that's worked very well for other schools. So we're looking at that for the fall of 2025, not this fall.
Correct.
I just wanted to clarify for the public.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you very much for presenting.
Thanks, Kate.
So on Matt's report, we have the summer school, which you just talked about. Right. PSATs.
So the PSAT results are interesting because you've all seen aggregated test results for all of our students who took, for example, the SAT during 11th grade, which isn't all the students. It's about 60%, 67%, two-thirds of our students choose to take the SAT in 11th grade. So there's a third there that have chosen not to take the SAT. We can imagine the likely reasons. What's really interesting about the PSAT scores here is you look at this group of 21 test takers, and they exceed state averages significantly. They achieve at a very high level. Now I'm going to ask you to go back to looking at that aggregated data of two-thirds of our students who are significantly, in math at least, below state averages and just below state averages in ELA, although they hover around the state average. What it's really telling us, it's pretty basic math to realize that what this is really telling us is that our highest achieving students are doing extraordinarily well, but there is work to do with trying to find data. I mean, a third of our kids don't take the SAT in 11th grade. So until we started STAR testing at the end of last year, we didn't really have data that told us what they knew and could do. Now that we are in this regimen of STAR testing, we're beginning to assemble that data. We've got 4 data points, I think, so far. And because we can do it 3 times a year, we can continue to build that. Until we know what our students know and can do, it's hard to figure out where to meet them and what to teach. And I'm leaving alone for right now the challenge of being a smaller school that keeps getting smaller, right? With class sizes that are already small, where enrollment has shrunk, but the size of the staff has shrunk less. That's a good thing as long as we can continue to do it, but at some point, taxpayers show up and say, enough. So it's really interesting data. I just wanted to point that out because, you know, the really good news is our highest achieving students are knocking it out of the park. They're really doing extraordinarily well.
Okay. So we have the grants, consolidated grants.
So the grants, yeah, so these fluctuate. There's nothing really that we do that affects this. They have been overall in a downward trend over the last decade or so. So Title I is down pretty significantly from 23-24 to next year, 24-25. We weren't able to use a lot of it this year, so hopefully we can at least use this money. This coming year, I think we can. Title II is staff professional development. We have gotten pretty good at using it, and it's gone up a little bit, so that's great news because I'm sure Matt can make good use of it. And Title IV, I think we usually try to move that to Title II, which you're allowed to do if you write the right proposal.
So who's writing all the grants?
Matt. Well, Matt's doing the title grants.
Okay.
And then you can see there's a paragraph here about Linda from our counseling department meeting with administrators from 3 other schools in the area to see if we each had 3 or 4 or 6 kids who wanted to take a calculus class or a physics class, if we could put them together in some way to make that more feasible. It's extremely difficult to get other schools to cooperate on this kind of thing.
I also, I reached out to Lakes Region principals, the same, I was on the same thread of any teacher sharing that we could do or class sharing as well.
Okay,
This is unfortunately what happens as the school gets smaller. If you look at some other schools in the region that are smaller than ours, and I've done this, and you look back at news clippings from 10 years ago, 15 years ago, this is the problem, is they get to the point where, well, we have 6 students who want to sign up for a high-level class. Experience shows that that turns into 4 by Thanksgiving, and now we have the pressures of other students signing up for other classes who would like to take those other classes that might have 12 or 14 or 16 kids in them, and we want to provide every class for every student.
Right. I mean, we used to solve it by having kids go on VLAC, but that hasn't worked out for math as well.
VLAX is an option, it's just
Right.
not a
It doesn't work
particularly engaging one.
Doesn't work well with math in my experience with my grandchildren anyway. So,
I think it's a really difficult situation. I think, you know, we've had some classes with so few students that it is not economically feasible as taxpayers. And trying to combine those classes, I think is great, and that's certainly a step in the right direction. I think that the calculus and the physics is certainly a big deal, and it is unfortunately really hard to find qualified people, especially in the science and math.
well, and science has very specific certifications.
Yeah.
You know, they have to be certified in certain things in order to teach certain classes. The state requires certain, that's what I found. The science is very
Right, you have to
difficult
have
to get certified people in certain areas. So,
And the thing with the physics one is that it was lack of having a teacher, because there were, I think, 14 students that signed up for physics, and then an additional 12 for engineering design. Calculus, on the other hand, was because of like low enrollment. There were only 4 of us that wanted to sign up for the class. I think that's the like repercussion of the fact that my 8th grade year, someone made the determination to not run algebra in 8th grade. So they handpicked a few of us to take VLAX and then hung us out to dry. So only
only a few of you took it.
2 or 3 of us completed the course.
So in the personnel report tonight, you will appoint, if you do, a mathematics teacher who has a aeronautics engineering degree from Clarkson University, an actual rocket scientist. And engineering 1 and engineering 2 will be put back into the schedule for next year after tonight's meeting.
Great.
I do think Wyatt has a point, because my daughter also would have, she's a math person, and is now a year behind because she didn't take algebra in 8th grade. And it was offered, but it wasn't really impressed upon them the reason why it was important, if that was something that you're interested in, to take it then. So maybe the communication at that level we need to look at that.
Sure.
And what year is she?
She's a sophomore now, just finishing a sophomore. So she's gonna accelerate Algebra 2 over the summer, so she can take pre-calc in the fall. But
Okay, so it sounds like we need to talk to our various principals at the elementary level and talk about 8th grade math.
I know they did that at ACS. They put it out there to ask for the 7th graders to volunteer to take the algebra pre-test or whatever it was called.
So 8th grade
But
algebra
if
a
they
few
don't-
years ago had essentially been discontinued
Yeah.
at BES, and we started it back up. One of the issues there, not to talk elementary school, at the JMA meeting, was that the criteria for placing students in that class was a teacher choosing them. So we developed some objective criteria. It's more than one thing, so there's still a teacher recommendation involved, but there are also some grades and test results involved. So a student who is able to do the math but doesn't necessarily earn the teacher's recommendation can still get into the class.
But also communicating that option to parents too, I think is important.
Okay, so we're on to your report, open enrollment.
So in your packet that you received via email, and I haven't put another copy of it here with my report, is the final order by the State Board of Education in the student versus Pittsfield case dated May 31st. If you read all 14 or 15 pages, you know that the state board rejected the Pittsfield School Board's assertion that its resident students are not eligible to attend an open enrollment school except by a vote of their legislative body. And on one of the last pages, the state board ordered the Pittsfield School Board to pay its bill. I am asking that you empower Heidi or myself to enter into discounted facilities use contracts for organizations that use a lot of volume. This is pretty common. You have a policy that you updated last fall to increase the prices to make them a little bit more typical or a little more competitive. But when you have an organization using the facility over and over and over on a regular schedule, it is, in my experience at least, not unusual to give them some kind of a break. If we go straight off the new list price, the church that meets here on Sundays will see a pretty big increase. So Heidi and I have talked about just offering them a monthly rate that's consistent with what they've been paying. It also means that everyone has to stop tracking everything they do in every room they go into every 15 minutes and just say, this satisfies it. We have many years worth of experience built up, so we know about what it should cost. It amounts to roughly $1,000 a month. Haven't talked to them yet, but when we do, with your okay, I'm sure it makes sense to them too, not to see those rates go way up. With the Revolution, I had a conversation with them a few weeks ago about their competitive team programs, which meet basically June through October, 4 nights a week for about 90 minutes. And if you multiply all that out and charge $37.50 an hour for use of our practice fields, not our game field, you get about $4,500. So if we could give them a flat rate for that, it better allows them to plan their tuition billing, right? Because all they're doing is they're passing on their rental costs to their users. In the event that they hold a tournament or some other special event here, they would reserve that and pay for it separately from the list, because when they do things like that, they're charging fees to whoever comes and enters, so there's revenue for them. And they would go off our list price at that point. So it's one of those things where I come to you and I ask, are you okay? Because if you find out about it afterwards and you don't like it, that's a problem.
It's under
I make a
action
motion
items.
that the superintendent and
Heidi.
We call her the business administrator
business
sometimes.
administrator, that's what I was searching for. Ty. Work together with the concerned parties to develop appropriate fees. I'll just leave it at that.
Second.
Any discussion?
Did these groups come to us looking for a discount, or did we just willingly offer a discount?
We haven't even talked to the church yet. They've been paying the same rates for so long that when the board changed the policy, we agreed we'd implement it going into the new year. So we're a couple of weeks away. So we're just being proactive. We want to go talk to them before we jack up their rates.
Right. So, because some of the other things we're doing is we're looking at revenue-based things, and this is a revenue source that's coming in to take care of our fields. So why are we just willingly giving them free money here?
I don't think he is offering free. He's offering a discount.
Well, we've been collecting nothing.
Yeah, but so
Right?
why are we giving them a discount without them even coming to us to ask for a discount or anything like that?
I think it's a community building.
There's so many kids from our two communities involved with the Revs, for sure. I mean,
If it was a nonprofit, I'd say, yeah, sure. But it's a for-profit organization.
I think charging them an hourly rate is cost prohibitive myself. I mean,
The
they're-
Revs are nonprofit.
Are they?
Yes.
Except for the competitive. That's why it has to be separate. The competitive one, the competitive is a separate price. They make money on that.
Right, and that's what we're talking about here.
Whatever the board wants, right? I did a similar thing once. We built an artificial turf baseball field at a previous district, and I had a semi-pro baseball league show up and say, we want to use it on Sundays. And based on the list we had developed, it would have been really kind of excessive. So we came up with a price where we were still we were certainly paying all of our expenses and we were collecting a little bit more. It was the same deal. We had a revolving fund like Fund 5 that we have here that the money goes into that the board can then use for the maintenance and upkeep of the facilities.
And my concern is that we go too high, again, so some of these kids that go to that program are not, they don't have a lot of money to begin with. The cost will be passed on to the parents.
Right.
So if we go too high, it's just going to cost parents.
Because the way I look at it, Prospect Mountain fields should be the best fields around, right? These are kids that are playing sports their whole lives. They should have the best facilities possible to play on. If we want to allow them discount rates to go practice at the elementary schools, I'm all for that. But we talked about it last year, the soccer teams, high school soccer teams weren't allowed to practice on the high school soccer fields because we were worried about them getting destroyed. So now we're going to give a team a discount to practice on fields more than we wanted to, and we don't think these fields are going to get destroyed?
Well, they're practice fields.
You don't think we should have good practice facilities for our student athletes?
Well, that's a baited question, number one. Number two, they're a practice field, and I think what we're trying to do is involve the community and have that bridge. I mean, we're talking about a church, we're talking about the Revs that I think a lot of our kids are involved in, and a lot of our kids play for the Revs and the high school soccer team. So, I mean, I don't want to make that so cost prohibitive that they can't play here. And again, we're talking about practice fields. We're not talking about a game field. So, I mean, those are kind of apples and oranges.
Usually you like to try to practice on fields that are similar to your game field.
No, you don't. You always practice on practice fields. You play on a game field.
Okay, for 20.
I move the question.
Yeah, I think we better move it.
I move the question.
A question about, like, for the Revs, let's say their rate of 4,500, what was it last year?
0.
For as many years as I've been able to go back and figure out, they haven't been charged any fees here.
We changed the
Even though
policy.
There was a policy in place.
We clarified our policies.
We clarified it because.
So based on their historical usage, what would they be paying if they did the daily rate? Like what?
So the main thing I did is I grouped the practice fields into one instead of charging for each one.
Okay.
That's the main thing I did here to reduce it. So it could be doubled.
Okay.
You could look at it as they've already been getting a discount for the past 10 years where they weren't getting charged.
I again move the question.
All right, so all those in favor of letting Tim and Heidi come up with kind of a discount rate, I guess would be the way to put it?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
No. Yeah.
Okay, so the ayes take it. All right.
We've talked about an online program through K-12 education, beginning by using Indiana Digital Learning School. What we've told you is that we won't start using it without your permission, and we won't. You have approved it as an alternative program of Prospect Mountain High School, so arguably, if you gave us the okay, and we had students who wanted to start going to this school, this is the one where academics are online and then they can run around in the woods, and I'm being a little bit flippant when I say that. There's good, solid research basis for outdoor education and learning, and I know you all know that. Our innovation plan has gone to the state board. I'm up to 3 now families who have approached me because we talk about this in public and people have heard about it and asked, can my child enroll in this online school? Not the whole thing, not our Granite State Academy, not the outdoor education part, but the online school. What I've done so far is say, well, I can introduce you to the people who run Indiana Digital Learning School because we're mutual friends. And if you withdraw from the public school system and become a homeschooler, and they agree to let your child enroll at their school for no charge, which I know they will, you can do that. And I've facilitated that for a couple of families, and it might be about to happen again. We'll see. At some point, regardless of what happens with the state board and this innovation plan, we might just come to you and say, look, if people want to do this, should we just start making it available? So I just wanted you to know that this has happened twice and might be happening again. And you know, families come to their public school systems all the time, talking about options. Can we go enroll in a charter school? Can we homeschool? What are our other options? And I do think part of our job is to facilitate that conversation, so at least people understand how the regulations work and what's available and impacts on transportation, impacts on whatever other considerations are for families. But this has become part of that conversation, right? There is, and you already know this, there seems to be, I should say, rather than there seems to be a fairly high degree of dissatisfaction with VLAX among families who have tried it full time. So it might happen that we get more of these questions. So for now, I'm not asking you to do anything, but it's one of those, like, when I do show up asking you, I want you to have heard me talk about it before, so we understand why it might happen. That took longer than I planned, sorry. I won't talk about the cell phone thing tonight, because we'll do that in August. But I will tell you tonight that my proposal here at the high school level, because I've read the room a little bit, I think, is going to be that we work with the new principal to write handbook language that will restrict use of cell phones to study hall in the high school. I have also attached some pretty sensitive but heavily redacted examples of the sorts of things administrators are spending a huge amount of their time on these days. And I want you to notice, please, when you review those materials, how often you read TikTok and Snapchat, and these are things that are happening kind of surreptitiously around the edges during school hours. And if you know, as a father of 5, sometimes I want to say, well, all we have to do is tell them not to do it. And I am here as an educator telling you that it hasn't worked for the last 20 years. And the situation is worse than it's ever been. There's also an article here about what's happening in the Los Angeles Unified District, but that's, again, a topic for August, if that's okay. We talked about the gym floor already. There is, at the very end of my report, a letter from the Vice President of the Future Business Leaders of America group. As I think you heard last month, 5 students from FBLA have qualified to attend the national conference. That means they won a competition at the state level in order to qualify. You know how I feel about this kind of thing. I like to recommend that the board help out, if you can, financially when students earn their way into a higher level competition. So they have fundraised more than $2,000. I think you have the exact breakdown in the student's letter. And they're still looking at a cost of over $1,600 per student.
The breakdown's on the very back page at the very bottom.
Go all the way back behind the gym floor.
Yep. It's titled PMHS FBLA
It's like this.
NLC 2020.
Yeah, very back.
So 5 students, and this is their per student cost right now. And the question is, will the board direct us to find some money to help them with this?
Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion that the board, i.e. Heidi, helps us, our business administrator, fund students going on the PMHS FBLA field trip in 2024.
Do I hear a second?
Well, a second for discussion. I think we still need to put up to how much or something.
Yeah, I was wondering if we should put a limit on how much per student?
They're requesting 5,000 total. So that would be 1,000 per student.
So they've earned 2,000, 5 students, yeah, I get it.
It's a lot of money to fundraise in a relatively short period of time since they all went to states and won.
Mm-hmm.
And they have tried a variety of ways enthusiastically to raise this money.
They've done well. They didn't have as much success with the mattress fundraiser this year as they have in the past. It's been a better one. But you can see the list. They've done 6 different activities here.
I mean, I'm all for supporting the kids. If we can find the money, then let's do it.
So I'll add to your motion up to $5,000.
Yes, I recommend my motion up to $5,000.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
I think that's it for me.
all righty. We have some action items. You want us to wait on the?
That's
cell
up to you,
phone?
if you wanna,
I would
if you wanna talk about cell
propose that
phones
we
more,
wait
go right ahead.
until August.
Table it to August.
Table it till August. We'll put it on our next agenda. That
We
could
already
be
talked about
a
facility
huge
use.
discussion. Okay, facility use contracts, we already did. Driver's ed contract, 3-year extension.
Yeah, so remember last summer, we didn't get bids in response to our RFP for a driver's ed provider. So we sort of ran around and found one and tried him out on a trial basis. I think the results have been pretty good.
Yeah, it's going great, and he's working, classes are filling up.
That's great.
And families are happy to have this wonderful,
That's the impression I
accessible
have.
opportunity for their kids.
So in the past, it would have been a 3-year at a time agreement, and then we would go back out with a new RFP after 3 years. So if it's okay with the board to turn this into a new 3-year.
Do I
I'd
hear a
make a
motion?
motion to extend the driver's ed contract for 3 more years with
Second.
a thin blue line.
And Ann, second.
Yep.
Any discussion?
I see a lot of kids and they
Oh, the
like
kids are-
it, they're very
It's
happy.
great to have something right here.
Hard to find.
Mr. Drolet is great to work with, too.
Great.
Yeah.
All those in
Happy to
favor?
have him.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I abstain.
Okay, one abstention? I understand. We've already voted on the encumbrances. Lunch price, we're on to the lunch price.
We just had this
So again,
discussion at all.
We did too.
we had to complete
Right,
the
I'll do this.
USDA Food Lunch Nutrition Services Paid Lunch Equity Tool. Prospect Mountain, I'm asking to increase to $3.85.
Just so everybody knows.
Currently, it's $3.30.
Just so you know, we always run behind on what the actual costs are. In both those schools, we had to raise the prices, and it still doesn't get us to the actual cost of what we actually need to pay, but we'd never be able to charge.
And food service at this school, at this high school, has averaged $75,000 loss each of the last 2 years.
And just so people know, that's pretty standard for a lot of
It's
schools.
pretty standard for loss.
Are, is it high school getting more to eat on their plate? Like,
I'll have to look into that, probably,
Is it
but I'm
the
not sure.
I think they get more food than the elementary,
They do.
only because I know my grandson eats a lot. He's quite happy. I haven't seen any
I'm just wondering
objections.
If, because it's, and is it the same lunch menu, like, since it's shared?
No, I think it's different. I
No,
think
it's different.
It's more à la carte, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's more
It's
on
à
It's different up
carte.
here than it was in
It is.
elementary school, yep.
So, so, I mean, I know it says at least 385. Is there a number that it should be instead of that, Heidi?
The lowest you could go is 380.
No, I mean, is there?
There's a higher number.
Right,
A higher
exactly.
number? That's up to you.
I make a motion to raise it to 385.
I do
Yeah.
that. So we have a motion for 385, yes, which is what Heidi recommends. And you have a second?
Yeah, second, I just wanted to make sure.
Any
that
other
was the-
discussion? I think if we went any higher, it'd be a shock
Shocker.
to the students and the parents. I think that'd be a lot.
It's a wonderful value, too. When I go through the line, the quality of the food, a lot of staff members eat it, too. I enjoy it when I
I've
eat
heard
it,
good
and
things
it's
about
fresh.
it. I've
and
never had it.
Some fun variety, and Pizza Day is magnificent, so.
We do wish that it could be free. If there was,
Well,
if
yeah.
there was a way to
There?
finance
Sure.
lunch, that would
Bring
be.
back COVID.
Bring back, no, thank you. Don't,
Just so you know, during COVID time, it was free, and that's also caused some of the debts as well, too.
Right. All right. All those in favor for 385? Aye. Any opposed? All right. We have now policies. First reading of the AI. That's an up-and-coming thing, the AI. Kids are using it.
Yeah, first reading only, please. We have some work to do. But thank you to our Director of IT, Matt Dumont, for taking the lead on this.
Make a motion for policies first reading, developing the AI use policies, K through 12 student AI responsibility use policy, policy for responsible use of AI by teachers.
A second.
Any discussion?
I read it, I thought it was very comprehensive.
It's very comprehensive, I agree. I skimmed it, I didn't read it in depth, but I'd like to read it
Yeah,
more.
I think it'll be important for training for
It's one of those things.
teachers and for students.
We always come up with a new thing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we're on to professional staff nominations, resignations, athletic director, permission to employ. Can I have a motion, please?
Make a motion to accept the certified staff nominations, resignations, coaches, and support staff resignation retirements as presented.
Do we have an athletic director on here?
Take you non-public for that, please.
Second.
Oh, okay, that's what I was asking. There's no, it said AG, but it's not on here. Okay. So, any discussion? We've had a motion.
Just talk about whether it's a search committee or interview committee, how was the certified staff hired?
Depends on the position.
All right, start with the first one, athletic.
Yeah, so, well, we had one qualified applicant for that position.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Matt Jazokas interviewed her. We interviewed library media specialists with the director of IT also to talk about Google certification and bringing technology into library services. The first math teacher listed here was already in the queue when I received word from another superintendent that one of our math teachers had accepted a position in his district. So I scheduled a Zoom meeting with her that afternoon. She is the Clarkson University educated engineering graduate who also has a master's in education. And I offered her that job. And then the fourth one, math teacher, was interviewed by Matt Jazokas and some teachers, and I don't know if Shelley was there or not.
Okay, does that answer your question? Any other discussion or questions? Okay, can I have all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Okay, so.
Do you want a
on
motion
to-
on the permission to employ?
I'm sorry.
Do you want a motion on permission to employ?
Oh, yes.
Oh, permission to employ. Is this for open positions right now?
For summer.
All right, so I need a motion, please.
I make a motion to allow Superintendent Broderick to hire open positions over the summer.
Second.
Any discussion or questions? We don't have another board meeting till August, so we really can't wait until August to hire. That's my perspective of why he's asked this permission. If we had a meeting in July, it'd be different. We don't.
We do this every year anyway. Yep.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So I do want to say that the resignations with regret. I mean, these teachers have been here for a very long time, and we're going to miss them, and I feel badly that they're leaving, but, you know, I wish them well. And I do want to say with regret. The two resignations was Chris McStravick and Megan, how do I say her last name? Did you hear that, Karen? All righty, public input. Can I remind people again that we don't talk about personnel specifically in public input? We can't talk about a person who's employed by the district by law. So I just want to make sure people remember that when they're giving public input. I certainly, again, value public input. It doesn't feel that way when we stare at you, but we do take it in and we think about it and we talk about it, oftentimes in non-public session, but we're not allowed to talk about personnel in public session. So please know that we value your input, but we're not trying to be exclusionary by staring at you and not responding, okay? So are there people who would like to give us some public input? Okay, but we have one person, then you can go next. Go ahead.
Hi, folks. My name is Steve McKnight. I appreciate the time here. I wanted to mention something. Somebody had brought up about the Holocaust survivor who had done a presentation, and that was such a wonderful program, so much so that when we were in DC last weekend, my 8th grader really wanted to go see the Holocaust Museum, and it spurred such a conversation. And I just wanted to mention to the board how things like that are just so invaluable. Do have some concerns, unfortunately, and kind of when you see a lot of the faces here, then we know that something's going on again. Unfortunately, a lot of us have been through this back 10 years ago when we went through a lot of the drama that we had with ACS. And here again, we're seeing Mr. MacArthur on his way, and has been such a wonderful influence on all of our kids coming up. Recently, learning about the departures is a huge concern. Bedrocks of this community who've put their kids through here, who've taught generations of kids, and they're leaving, and they're not retiring. That's just, it's so concerning. Mr. Broderick, you mentioned that taxpayers are going to show up, and Ms. Pierce, you mentioned that you do have a financial responsibility to the community. I absolutely agree, but I'm going to take a wild guess here and say most of these people aren't here to complain about their taxes, because I'm certainly not. I don't, and I apologize for not being as connected as I should be. I don't have all the information on things like what's happening with calculus and physics, but my 8th grade student was the Nelms Award winner for Alton. He got the Science Award. He lives and breathes math and calculus and things like that, and he wants to get into this stuff. And to hear what's going on with the honors program is incredibly concerning. Incredibly concerning. And I understand that there are some theories about how this stuff works, but I don't really like experimenting with my kid. I really don't. I definitely need more information on this. I think that's about all I have to say, other than, it's a lot cheaper, like you mentioned, you have the responsibility of the community, and I would think it'd be a lot cheaper to retain talent than it is, because you folks seem like you're all spending a whole lot of time out here chasing down people to work here. So maybe we should retain some of the people that we have. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Steve. You ready?
I just kind of have a question about your policies, because I've been trying to get my child diagnosed. He's in special education, and I was told this year that they would not diagnose her.
Could you state your name, please? I apologize.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't know who you are.
Terry Fielding.
Oh, okay.
Terry Fielding. Should I say my kid's name?
No.
Well,
Okay,
no,
that's what
you're
I
not
thought.
supposed to, we're not supposed to.
I'm just wondering why that policy, because the handbook, I guess I found out that there's a separate handbook for special education, and I wasn't given that one, but my daughter's been in special education for 10 years. So I was trying to have her diagnosed this year because she turns 18, and she comes out of the program for special education. And I was told, because I don't agree with doctors and I don't agree with medications, that we would be able to do that here, and I was denied that. And then I went to the school, my ex-husband went to the school, my kids went to the school. Both my kid graduated, one of them, in 2009, here, with honors, Amberfield. But anyways, I have another one, she's 15 years younger, and she was denied her VOTEC for mechanics course in Wolfboro when, for her, the same reason she's in the disability, for her attitude. And I just thought that was unfair. And I'm making sure that she graduates this year, because a policy of the handbook is 5 days. And I believe it should be 18%, which is 18 days out of 180. I think it's unreasonable to have 5 days in the policy handbook for absentees. If you're absent 5 days, you fail. I've had the cops at my house. You had corona. My mother had cancer. So I kept her out because you guys had a case of it the first day last year. So I kept her out for 30 days, and you guys stopped remote learning. And I fought for remote learning for the 4 weeks so we could come to some agreement, so I didn't have to worry about a high risk and bringing Erica to school, and you guys had stopped remote learning. So when I get her here after the 30 days and I made an arrangement to drop her off at 9, you guys told me instantly she's failing anyway. So I kept her out the whole year, because she's already gonna fail. This is her 3rd year in 10th grade. Now, I've gone to the school, I think they're high qualified teachers. Something's wrong. something's been wrong for a few years for 160 kids not to come back after Corona. There is something wrong, and I don't know what that is, but I would like her to be diagnosed in her special education, because if she don't stay into the program. So I don't know if that's a policy of your handbook or if it's a policy of special education, but I plan on taking it up with the state, because it's a handbook and not any one individual can fix it. So I just want to know that if there's something that you can do or anybody here can do to help me get her diagnosed, because I don't agree with doctors and I don't agree with any medications. I don't put my kids on any pills. I just don't agree with it. She's not, she has a learning disability. She doesn't have, nothing that I want to put my kids on drugs to start them on drugs. So I'm trying other options. And I was actually told that it's the law, we can diagnose here, and then I was totally said, no, we can't. So I want to make a concern on that area that, I will be furthering that, because this is my kid and I have to fight for her because she does have a learning disability. She's not mature enough to do this for herself. She's 18 now, and she's a third year sophomore. So when they kept her out for the first 2 years because of the absentees, and she failed, the first year I sent her to Kingswood. I paid the $150. I drove her every day. And then the next year was the Corona, and we had no remote learning. So I ended up, being absent for that. Well, I found out that all her grades were above 60 and beyond, but that she failed for policy, the 5 days absent. And I was so angry that I wasn't doing that the next year. I wasn't paying $150, driving her to school every day, so you guys can make an exception to the rule for the handbook. And I come in and fought, and nobody made an exception to the rule. She still failed. She still should be in a high grade. I wanted the credits. They finally gave me the credits that if she passed that class, I want the credit. So now she's in between sophomore and a junior. And she's still not qualified for Wolfboro Tech to be a mechanic. The girl wants to be a mechanic. She's got a bad attitude. She can't be told what to do. That's going to be a good career for her. But I feel like the school has put her for, not will she graduate this year in 2024 like she's supposed to. She's graduating with the kid she picked on. And I feel like that's for policy. And something's got to change with this policy. It's inaccurate. There's no way everybody can comply with all them rules that's there. And, some rule has to be in there for them to be able to diagnose her, to keep her in this program. She's been in it for a long time, 10 years. She started, kindergarten. She's been in special education. So my concern is really just seeing what can be fixed in the policy to make these children, she's not the only child I know that failed full policy, 4 absences. I know a little girl, her father got killed, and she was out for days. She ended up staying back for that. So it's a policy that is, unreasonable.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have anyone else who'd like to get up and come on down?
Hi, I'm Mary Winslow from Center Barnstead. I come here tonight pondering a few questions. What is the school district? Well, it's a geographical unit for the local administration of the schools. What is administration? The process or activity of running an organization. What is the school board? A locally elected public official group entrusted with governing public schools in the community. While school board members are elected individuals, they serve as part of a governing team, including each school board member and the superintendent. Well, what is the team, I was thinking? A group of people who perform independent tasks to work toward accomplishing a common mission or a specific objective. Well, also, what is the definition of entrust? To put something into someone's care or protection. And then what is the superintendent? The chief executive of the school district, hired by the community school board members to create and execute a shared vision for the district. So, I tie this all together, and school board members, you are obviously elected officials, and you, Mr. Broderick, are entrusted to work together as a team with them to accomplish many missions, one of which I'm here to talk about tonight, special education. Which brings me to another question. What is faith? Several years ago, I had never even considered what that meant. But it turns out that FAPE is free and appropriate special education. Appropriate means suitable or proper in the circumstances. FAPE is an educational entitlement of all students in the U.S. having a disability. This is a guarantee by the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. FAPE also enables parents of a disabled child the right to examine school records and participate in meetings and present complaints. Thank you for letting me share my ponderings. Now, I'd like to share a small segment of our story. I come to you tonight troubled on every side, but not distressed, very perplexed, but I'm not in despair, persecuted, but I'm not abandoned, struck down, but I'm not destroyed. I stand before you school board members firmly and strongly in what has shaped up to be for us an ongoing 18-month battle with Barnstead Elementary School, the school district, including the administration and their legal team, to procure a fair and appropriate public education for our beloved special needs daughter.
Can I just interrupt you for a minute? I'm right here. Oh. Is this about Barnstead Elementary? Because we're...
No, this is about my special education experience, which also includes the high school.
You have high school experience in special ed?
I surely do.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that you went to the proper audience, because Barnstead School Board...
we have Barnstead Elementary and experience, which I'm going to describe in just a moment, here at Prospect Mountain High School.
So what you're referring to then is a Barnstead issue, but you also have students in the high school?
I don't currently have a student in Prospect Mountain, but I did.
So what I would urge is that you meet with the special ed director and the school board in Barnstead.
Okay.
No offense, I'm not trying to be offensive at all, but I can't help you with your issue of Barnstead. I'm the board chair of the JMA.
Right, but the special ed director does service the entire
We have
district.
a separate special ed director right now that's working with the high school. We just hired. And then there's one that covers the two elementary. So I would suggest that you meet with her.
Okay, so I'm not able to finish this?
Well, I'd rather you did it at the school board at Barnstead.
Okay.
I appreciate you wanting to share, but again, we have no action we can take for Barnstead.
Okay.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So
I do, but I feel that the school, so this is a joint school board meeting, right?
It's joint for the high school. So we're separate boards for our elementary, and we merge together for the high school.
Okay.
So this is a board meeting for the high school. So again, I apologize, but I feel like we can't hear you about this because we can't do anything.
Okay.
All right, but I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I have a lot more to say, so if you'd like to know more, you can contact me. Thank you.
Thank you. I thought that there was another person that started up before. I apologize, but I did see her start up. I don't want her to feel like I'm neglecting her.
Hi, I'm Deirdre Hahn, and I have a student who is going to be a junior. We've been struggling past several years, and I wanted to touch upon, you were talking about the test scores and the PSATs. We've had an experience where she made high honors last year. She's an honors student this year, honors classes, makes honors. Was found out she ranked 20th in her class. But yet her STAR testing shows her having a reading level of an 8th grader. And I've inquired about it, and I was told it's a student problem, not a teacher problem. So we're trying to find out, number one, my child feels like she's the dumbest kid on the planet. She feels very intimidated, and she doesn't feel successful, and she doesn't feel supported. Now, granted, she works really hard. She's got almost all A's. Actually, no, she does have all A's. Most honors classes, and yet she does have an anxiety when it comes to time testing. Can't fault her for that. And the only suggestion was it was a student problem, that why don't we just put her in Title I? It's defeating. You know, and it's hard too, because she's not a sports kid. She's a vocalist, and she has no backing here. And so to be with her peers and not feel successful in anything, but yet she's 20th in her class in honors classes. Where is the breakdown? And now she feels that she has no opportunities, and she doesn't feel that she's going to be successful or get into college or be able to take these SATs, because now all this is in her head. So I want to know, where's the breakdown? Where's the failure? Because it's destroying my child, and I'm sure she's not the only one. So if it's not a teacher problem or a school problem, what is it? And that's something that I need somebody to look into. Because again, she's going into her junior year, and she feels that she has no direction. And when we met with the school, with someone from the school, she flat out said, SATs don't count anymore. I was right there. I was in the meeting, so I can speak that that's what was said. I don't know where to go from here, and I'm really hoping that something can turn around, and that, because it begs me to question what is happening in the classroom. What are they learning? What are they doing? Thank you.
Thank you. Now we have Mrs. Mott was next. Oh, you're okay? Okay.
My name is Kim Pika. I just wanted to touch on that, only because my daughter as well, when 2 years ago or whatever, I never ended up resolving it because it was at the end of the year. She also is a high honors student, and she ended up coming in at a 5th grade reading level and like a 12th grade math level. It was like extremely different. And then I noticed that the math teacher and the reading, they weren't even the right teachers. So I had called at the end of the year. It was like the last day of school, never resolved it. So I'm not sure if there's a communication issue with the STAR testing, but I just wanted to let you guys know.
I'm Mrs. Mott. It's
Hi.
nice to be addressing all of you. And so not only did we lose 30 professionals last year, and we're still hemorrhaging, and I'm so sorry to hear the student body come and represent what I as a parent feel. We are losing a lot of our staff members, but we're also losing a lot of our students. More than 43 of our students, which is half of the graduating class, or maybe a little bit less than half of the graduating class this year, are out of our school. And my son is under special education and is a junior this year and feels there is nothing for him in this school, and he's not going to be enrolled here next year because everybody in this building that has done just a miraculous job with him will no longer be here. So he's losing everybody that he's had, and he's a junior. And I have another child coming up in the system, and none of the team that I know will be here when he gets here, and that horrifies me. Another thing that horrifies me is not only are we losing our staff and our children, but I've come to learn that some of our programming is more heavily funded than others. Our robotics program serves less than 10 children at Prospect Mountain and is the highest funded. I'm also learning there are more mentors on our robotics team than there are children. And I'm curious, with all our math and our engineers bleeding out of our schools, how are we involving our student body in our highly funded programs? So there are a lot of things that are happening just below the surface that maybe people aren't aware of, but maybe a little bit of a closer look will let us in on these little handouts and kickbacks and scenarios that look shaded. As a community member and as somebody that loves our student body in both towns, I am urging our school board to take a look at some of the undercurrents, some of the reason why these people are leaving, and some of the reasons why our special education department is not running well, because we're also losing some very valuable people out of there. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to make an appeal. Actually, when I sat and thought about, I do have a high school student that's placed out of district by this high school.
But
I do.
Your
Who's in
information
special education.
pertains-
And I have an 8th grade student that's my special ed daughter that would be coming to Prospect Mountain in the fall.
I don't understand what you want to achieve by talking to the JMA board. Are you trying to achieve something? Is there something?
I'm trying to
a
make it
concern?
known the struggles that we've dealt with administratively in the special education. And I feel like special education, from what I just heard the previous woman speaking about as well, and then the woman before her, the struggles in special education.
And we have a new special ed director at the high school that is here for change, and I think it's important that people go see this person this summer when they're free to talk about next year, and I think you should make an appointment with that person.
Okay.
Okay? I think that you could achieve a lot more than talk. That was one of the things that the school board talked about. How do we go about all of this? And one of them is we hired a new person just for the high school. And then the other person is in charge of the elementary, and that makes it easier for special ed parents to approach that one person who's in charge of the high school.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I appreciate your input.
Mm-hmm.
I just want you to see how you do with that person, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Did anyone else have any input? Oh, here we go.
I can't not say something. I would like to start first by saying thank you to Wyatt Barney. It takes a tremendous amount of courage as a student. I know I try to convince my own kids to do this, to speak up and to talk about what their experiences are. So thank you for having the courage to do that. That's no doubt a reflection of what he's learned through his education path here in this district. So bravo. I think she left, but the teacher who spoke, bravo to the teacher who spoke. Trying to find something positive in change, which is often hard for many of us. So I think both of those people are to be commended for their perspective. I will share with you that I sat down with my own students, some here, some on their way here, and asked their perspective of this whole de-leveling concept. And I was incredibly impressed that my student who's here knew the mission statement like that. In fact, her answer to me was to start by reciting the mission statement and saying, with de-leveling, that goes away. And it was the principal who had a comment as well, who said, when we take this approach and we have fewer small classes, we unlock more opportunities for more enrichment, but shouldn't we first focus on that core curriculum opportunity, which I'm not an educator, but I'll tell you, I homeschooled 3 kids through COVID, just 3 of them. And wow, that was really hard, really, really hard. So now we're gonna take small or maybe modest sized classes, and we're gonna lump kids with all different levels of abilities together. And we're going to suggest that that creates a better learning opportunity for all of them. And I'm all for pulling the kids up and making sure we're continuing to advance the kids who are already accelerated, but I'm not sure that I believe that that's really possible. And I was encouraged to hear that this isn't something that goes into effect in September, that we're gonna take a year to learn, but I hope we take the year to learn with an unbiased perspective, one that doesn't just steamroll through to say, we made a decision, so we've gotta stick with it, but that looks at the data. There's a lot of opinions. Wyatt's opinion was valuable to hear, and the teacher's opinion was valuable to hear, but they're just opinions. So if I hear the superintendent say, we've only got 4 rounds of testing to validate where these kids are at, I would argue you have more, because you could go back to the STAR testing that they took at ACS or at Barnstead and see where that comes into play. See what the groupings of these kids look like. because you can look at that for trend lines and see how you're going to find better outcomes. But I think when we talk about stretch learning experiences, opening opportunities, cross-curriculum experiences, we already do that at ACS. It's amazing. And when we climbed up the oldest lighthouse in the country, there was a Navy veteran photojournalist who was our tour guide, and he was telling us, this is where the Battle of the Ironclads happened. And my kid was like, oh, we just learned about that, and it came so much to life. Do more of that. But can we really accomplish that and grouping all of these kids together with wildly different levels of experience? I'd like to see the data to back up that that's really an effective path. When we talk about student-driven, goal-focused, how do you take a class size and make it bigger and enable a teacher to be student-driven and goal-focused when they have so many kids to focus on? There was the example that talked about taking this model and applying it to summer school, but that's actually not a good use case because summer school is not a wide array of kids with different levels of competencies and ability. So I'd like to ask that we rethink that as a proof point or a validation because you're only looking at one section of the demographic of those kids. I think we might also be well served, instead of spending a lot of time and energy on an approach that's maybe not data-driven and fact-based. If there are facts, great, let's share that with the community, but I don't know that we've heard those yet. Why don't we invest that time and effort into efforts to attract more teachers to come to the school? It sounds fantastic that we're gonna have a rocket scientist teaching here. But if we're missing out on calculus and physics, why are we putting that person into an engineering program? I don't know, it just seems a little off kilter, a little off balance. In the math area, this is one that's a little sensitive to me. So I have kids who have been in an accelerated math program, and I learned through the grapevine that my children were not going to receive credit for the math work that they did prior to arrival at Prospect. Didn't hear that from an official source. You better believe, me being me, I turned around and asked an official source, and I was told they would get credit because they did it through VLAX, and they did it through VLAX because ACS and Prospect couldn't collaborate to make it work for them to be an in-student learner or an in-school learner. But if our position is that we're not going to incentivize kids to participate in the accelerated algebra program because we're not giving them credit for it by the time they get here, we're not going to have more kids like Wyatt who want to participate in calculus. So why are we making that decision? And why are we not communicating that to parents? Because I only heard about it anecdotally. Someone said, hey, did you know? And I was like, no, they'd never do that. That's disincentivizing. So maybe another bridge. There's concerns about de-leveling. There's concerns about math. There's concerns about teachers leaving. Maybe we need to think about stepping up communication to the community. And I will admit that, like Mr. McKnight, I haven't been here at every meeting. I show up when I hear things going on. But I will say that we used to have access to all of the information that you have in your packets on the website. We could go to the SAU website and you could see all of the documentation, the reports and the analysis and proposals. It's not there now. I went back and looked. So if we could put that back in, that'd be amazing, because it would be another opportunity for parents to have closer connections and a better understanding of what's going on. That transparency, I think, is critical. On that note, I would be curious to better understand, we've heard a lot about climate and changes and teachers leaving. Back in February, there was a survey that was sent out to all parents asking for our feedback about multiple different dimensions, but we've not heard anything as an outcome of that, which I see a correlation, maybe not, but I see a correlation that there was a concern. A survey was launched, but the community didn't hear any feedback back, but the community is saying we have concerns. So perhaps clearer communication on what were the findings of that survey? What's the action plan to address those findings, particularly if we have so many teachers who are leaving? So appreciate the time.
I know I'm not supposed to respond, but we just got the survey results last meeting.
Oh, okay.
So we're still working on it, so I don't want you to think we've abandoned it.
Sure.
We just have gotten the results last meeting, so.
Okay, perfect.
We need to work on it still, and we plan to.
So we'll look maybe August?
We're meeting in July, just a smaller committee, so probably in August you'll get a report.
Fantastic, that'd be great to hear. I appreciate the time. I appreciate you guys don't have an easy job. So thank you for your efforts and thank you for your willingness to listen, but I do hope we can address some of these concerns.
And Matt Chizokis does have data to share, so I'll ask.
Yeah, there
put
was a
that
presentation on that.
Okay.
On the untracking part, because I'm part of the curriculum committee, Ann was part of it.
Yeah. I
We,
mean,
you know, we had input for data, but
Okay.
we're
And there were-
postponing.
Since the board addressed concerns as well, if you look back at the meeting. I mean, again, I'm not trying to engage you, but
No, no, so.
I do just want to say that, that we've
We've been
discussed
working
those
on it.
concerns, we've looked at data, and that was in February.
Yeah, so we've been working on it.
Okay. Was that in one of the meetings? Like I could go back and watch a recording? Okay, I'll do that. Thank you. I appreciate it. I know you're not supposed to respond.
I know, I'm not supposed to talk, but.
I think just the communication, really and truly, it's the biggest hurdle to overcome, and to let parents know that these are mindfully thought through decisions. It's really important. It's really, really important.
Well, we appreciate you coming in and talking to us.
Thank you.
Thanks. Hi, Karen.
Karen Harry-Tonoff. I am a Alton resident and an Alton parent, and Anna and I did not talk before the meeting, but she literally checked off just about everything I had on my list to ask you about. I did actually talk with Deb in the SAU today to get a copy of the packet, and I think that would be really helpful if you post the packet again with the agenda so that people can come to the meeting and be informed. Sure. And also if they can't be at a meeting, you know, your videos are riveting, but it's hard to follow sometimes what's happening in the meeting if you don't have some of the papers that go along with it. And granted, the packet doesn't tell you the whole story, but those two together could help people who can't attend the meetings. You know, and I really want to encourage the board. I mean, I know you are all in this position because you have the students in your focus and in mind. And I think there's been a lot of unsettling feelings in the community. And I think part of that is because we've had a full guidance turnover in the high school. We're about to have a turnover in the top administrator, the principals in every single building. And you know, I think the community needs to hear from you what's going on in those situations, you know, and how are those buildings being brought together? How is their teamwork in these shared services? Because, you know, I don't think we're seeing, maybe from a business perspective and from an economic perspective, we're seeing some progress with shared services. But as a parent and as a resident, I'm not feeling a cohesion between the different parts, the different schools, and how the teachers may be working together on curriculum, some things that we started even before COVID, you know, where teachers were getting together, math teachers from every school were getting together and talking about how do we move students from the 8th grade into the high school smoothly. Doing more activities like that, I think, would be really helpful. I don't know enough about the de-leveling and tracking plan. Like Anna, I kind of heard it on the street. And again, I think this is a communication issue. My own daughter came home and said something about it. She says, well, I think what it means is if I'm in honors, I just need to do more homework than everybody else. So, you know, I think communicating with the students also on any benefits that the school board is seeing and why this is happening is really important, because it's a big impact on students who are planning their schedules for 3 or 4 years ahead, especially if they're planning on going into higher learning, or if they're setting themselves up for a track to do some vocational training, you know, and they've got to balance that also. So I encourage you again to communicate more about those things, because transparency goes a long way. Even being transparent about bad news goes a long way. So I think the community needs that. I think, you know, Steve mentioned it wasn't that long ago that we went through some really tough things at Alton Central, and that's why you see so many people at this meeting. I know this is unusual for this many people to be at a school board meeting, and it's because your community is concerned. So any transparency and communication you could share. I also just hope that the school board is somehow involved in exit interviews for staff and administrators that are leaving, and that is a process that does not include the immediate supervisors of those people. I mean, that should be a process that could be transparent for those people, that won't affect them in their future jobs, and it's something that the board can do. I'm glad to hear the climate survey results will be coming out soon. And just one other thing, because I did have the packet, and Heidi knows I like to look at the numbers. I do want to encourage the board to take a look at the summary expense report. This has been a theme for me for a long time. I see that we're spending a lot of money on athletics, and we're not supporting our other co-curricular activities. We used to have a drama and theater program here that was very strong, and that wasn't just for singers and actors. That was for kids who build sets. That was for kids who did the advertising and the marketing, working behind the scenes. We had a full pit band that actually had community members participating. So, you know, it was a big event for the school with a lot of people involved. And if I look at, you know, the expenses, we're spending $181,000 as of June 17th on athletics. We're spending $68,000 on all other co-curricular activities. And, you know, I just think that's embarrassing, honestly. That does notwithstanding the benefits of athletics, but there needs to be some balance. You know, we're spending more on athletics than we do on business services. We're spending more on athletics than we do on vocational education. We are spending more on athletics than all of our transportation put together. So I would really appreciate the board looking at a balance for that. And I did have a conversation with Principal Davis when the theater program kind of fell apart again, unfortunately. But, you know, part of that is the support from the administration. We're not going out to recruit for people to, you know, do art programs and direct plays from the community like we do to recruit coaches. So we really need to reach out of the school if we don't have enough hands on deck to do it from within the building. So thank you for your time, and thank you for everything that you do as a board member.
Thanks, Karen. Anyone else before we close public input? I was about to say seeing none.
Brittany Fortin from Barnstead, and I wasn't going to speak, but I think things are just relevant. I was going to wait till August, but I think it takes a lot for parents to come here and speak. And when parents speak about challenges online, there's been a lot of that lately, people keep saying that they don't see us at the school board meetings. And I haven't come because I'm so depleted by fighting for my child all year, fighting with my district, fighting for my kids' needs, that when I've reached, and I've reached out to the school board in the past, I'm talking about Barnstead, and I was dismissed. So it's hard because it feels like we won't be heard. And I appreciate that you said in some cases you can't respond, but it feels like we're not getting, my son just still wasn't getting his needs met. And I want to thank Mary Winslow for coming and talking, because I know it took her a lot to be here. And I think it's important that you hear our concerns about special ed. You might think you have a solution now, and I met with the new director for the high school recently, and I don't, you know, I won't know until we experience more, but the former one did impact all of our kids, and that impact follows them. I have a child coming out of 8th grade this year going to be in 9th grade, and I appreciate the point that Wyatt made earlier. Some kids aren't prepared by their district to enter the high school curriculum. My son isn't. He's a can that keeps getting kicked down the road. I don't think the high school can meet his needs. I know there are many SPED students who are not growing and not on track to graduate. I know these parents have the children have similar backgrounds to my child. I hear from those parents and more how lost their kids are, and I'm terrified about the amount of school staff that the school has lost. We're exploring the online option that Tim spoke about earlier, but then my son's also conflicted because he wants a high school experience. So we're exploring these options, and I'm grateful that there's something I can look at, but that comes with other challenges. So I think it's important that you hear this and that you hear we're concerned about SPED and all of our children in general. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to close public input unless I see someone showing interest. All right, let's close. Oh, okay.
I'm Jamie Godin. I hadn't really planned on coming tonight. Someone on Facebook had mentioned that there was a meeting tonight. So I'm concerned as a parent, community member, about the high turnover here at Prospect. Very concerned. I know last year a lot of people left, really good staff members, and this year more leaving as well. Miss Russell, she's fantastic, great with the kids, and she's leaving. So I hope the school board does look at why so many people are leaving. It's not right, it's not normal. I know there's always a high turnover with teachers, but this is not normal. So.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, I'm just going to close public input. Okay, you all set? Okay. All right, future agenda and follow-up items. So we're going to put the cell phone use on there.
The gym floor,
Gym floor,
whatever hires were done over July.
hires. Anything else? Anyone? Parent concerns. There were several. Some of them we can't talk about in public. Okay. Anyone else want to add to the agenda? So I'm sure we'll have a full agenda regardless, because we're skipping July, so. Is there any other business that you want to bring up tonight? Okay, so I need a motion to go into non-public session.
Make a motion to go into non-public session, RSA 91-A:32A, C, K.
Second.
Okay, I need a roll call to go into non-public, right?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Ann,
Yes.
do we have a yes?
Yes, yes, sorry.
No, that's fine. Thank you for coming.